Okay, so we back up. Alright, I had to put my mic on and shit. Forgive me. Right? This is politics as usual. Old Jaw Gritty with your boy Juice Wanna. And don't forget to check out my book, Street Skelzy, Knock 'em Out the Box. There's also some junkies, social media junkies apparel. Right? Where, you know, we have our different design sayings. Actually, I got to start adding some more stuff to it. I've been actually haven't been doing much of it, you know, of anything, you know. When I took this break, I took a break from a lot of things. So I'm back on it, right? And I tried to do to Twitch. Not Twitch, well, Twitch and Twitter. For some reason, I'm having a problem streaming over there. Now on this, we will be taking it back just like a paragraph in order for us, you know, anybody who's been paying attention to be up to date. Now, also, apparently, tick somebody off with this. They gave me the thumbs down. Or on YouTube, right? They didn't like this content, but it's what it is. So, you know, that's why. See, I laugh when stuff like this happen because I know it's having an impact, right? That's when I know. Hold on, I think I should add another light. So let me go to break real quick. Just so I could add this on. Okay. So we're gonna get into it now. Like I said, oh wait, hold on. I think this is a little too close. Let me bring this back a bit. Hold on. Alright. Okay. So we went. Oh, I think I should probably do one more time. Alright. One more time. Make sure that everything is being seen. Okay, so we're going to take it back from, you know, the Druze always played a far more important role in Syrian politics than its competitively small population would suggest, right? So we're just going to take it back from there. I'm going to let the word do the reading for us, so I ain't got to, you know,
the Druze always played a far more important role in Syrian politics than its comparatively small population would suggest. With a community of little more than 100,000 in 1949, or roughly 3% of the Syrian population, the Druze of Syria's southwestern mountains constituted a potent force in Syrian politics and played a leading role in the nationalist struggle against the French. Under the military leadership of Sultan Pasha al-Atrash, the Druze provided much of the military force behind the Syrian Revolution of 1925–27. In 1945, Emir Hassan al-Atrash, the paramount political leader of the Jebel al-Druze, led the Druze military units in a successful revolt against the French, making the Jebel al-Druze the first and only region in Syria to liberate itself from French rule without British assistance. At independence, the Druze, made confident by their successes, expected that Damascus would reward them for their many sacrifices on the battlefield. They demanded to keep their autonomous administration and many political privileges accorded them by the French and sought generous economic assistance from the newly independent government. Druze leaders meeting in Jebel al-Druze, Syria, 1926. When a local paper in 1945 reported that President Shukri al-Quwatli, 1943-49, had called the Druze a dangerous minority, Sultan Pasha al-Atrash flew into a rage and demanded a public retraction. If it were not forthcoming, he announced, the Druze would indeed become dangerous, and a force of 4,000 Druze warriors would occupy the city of Damascus. Quwatli could not dismiss Sultan Pasha's threat. The military balance of power in Syria was tilted in favor of the Druze, at least until the military build-up during the 1948 war in Palestine. One advisor to the Syrian Defense Department warned in 1946 that the Syrian army was useless, and that the Druze could take Damascus and capture the present leaders in a breeze.
So, with this being said, right, you have the Syrian Defense Department, who's basically co-signing, what was said earlier, which is, right, because this is a year later. No, this is actually a year later, because in 1945, it was stated that, the Druze, is a dangerous minority, right? Hold on a minute here, so you can see that right there, They say that, they're a dangerous minority, right? This is the Sultan, the Sultan flew into a rage, and demanded a public retraction, right? But he's saying, nah, they became dangerous force of over 4,000, Druze warriors, and they could occupy the city of Damascus, right? So, if he's warning them like, yo, you better retract this, clearly what he's saying holds some merit. Right? And so, they telling you that, and this is their defense. The Syrian Defense Department warns, and a year later, that the Syrian army was useless. And that the Druze could take Damascus, right, and capture the present leader in a breeze. So even though you have a small group, the way they build up with all of the initiates, those who, don't even know that they are part of this system, yeah, and just the same thing that you see in America today. Like, for me, everything I point out is just for what we are dealing with based on this system. So when you see America built on one and then destroyed on another, understand these systems that lurk in the background. Right, so now we up to part 2. I just wanted to take that there for a second. All right, so let's go.
During the 4 years of a deep...
Hold on. Sometimes my the voice, it just does what it want to do.
During the 4 years of Adib Shishakli's rule in Syria, December 1949 to February 1954, on August 25, 1952, Adib al-Shishakli created the Arab Liberation Movement, Emblem, a progressive party with pan-Arabist and socialist views. The Druze community was subjected to a heavy attack by the Syrian government. Shishakli believed that among his many opponents in Syria, the Druze were the most potentially dangerous, and he was determined to crush them. He frequently proclaimed, "My enemies are like a serpent. The head is the Jebel al-Druze, the stomach Homs, and the tail Aleppo. If I crush the head, the serpent will die."
Right. Now, as you see, he's not only naming one group, right? But he understands that this system that is set up, those are just, followers of the Druze, meaning that even if they're not aware, they have become extremely influenced by this system. So, hold on a minute. Matter of fact, wait, I'll check and see if I got to change my mic. But they have come to the conclusion that yes, this system is controlling other systems. And that's why I say this is the same system that you see today. I know because out of hearing them, you're Muslim, but you're not really Muslim, cause you call yourself Allah, and arm, leg, arm, head, and, all of that sounds cool until you take a step back and you start to realize a system that is set up, right? And so all of these, that's why you'll notice there'll be certain similarities, but they don't realize within those, they'll know that, oh yeah, this might be a break off of this, or, this might resemble this in way, but they'll always, especially there's two types, those in denial and those who are the facilitators. Now the facilitators are going to aid and abet those in denial by offering them an excuse, a logic to it. So the followers stay under this because there's always a facilitator keeping the followers, because we dealt with hypnotism and mesmerism. So inside hypnotism and mesmerism, we know that 80% out of the people are, influenced by their surroundings, but then you have a 10% who are extremely influenced. Now that 10% can play a major role within that 80% because they was already influenced. Now depending on what characteristics you have, you can actually lead other people into a train of thought, even though they are heavily influenced themselves. So then, and I'm going to get into the 10%, or we'll be getting into it as we continue on, right? Of the other 10%, which cannot be influenced by it, but within that are those who are facilitating the brainwash, right? And then you have the other percent, well, to me, I always break it down into, they say, the 5% and the 10%. Me, I say within that 10%, you have a 5%. But those 5%, even inside that, I'm going to say roughly like 3% out of that 5% are the manipulators as well. So really, of the righteous, I would give it only like 2%, of willing to, pardon me here, right, of those willing to combat it and really go up against it. But if you have a system that is designed to keep itself concealed, those 10% become martyrs and sacrificed because no one even knows that they was trying to do what I'm attempting to do for you, right? Oh, and as you see, I did also add, on the Street Skelzy, I also added the book cover to it. So, all right, let's go here. Oh no, but hold on a minute. I thought I did. I know I did, but I guess let me put it up in here now. All right. I'm gonna put it in there. Okay, take a little time. And go to layers. Let me add it in. All right. I did do it, but I didn't save it. So it was let's see here. Where's my cover at? I'm more than certain it's up this way. Alright, Boom, boom, boom. Pardon me 1 second. I just like to have it so I don't gotta keep going through it. I can just have you look at it and you know that's the cover. So where's this cover at? Boom, boom, boom. Where are you at? Oh, here we go. Alright, so then I can add you up here like this. Make you a little bigger too. So I'm gonna go over to my position, go over to 1. Alright. Pardon me here real quick. Alright. Bring you back over here. Bring you over this way. Oh, there you go. Alright. So you see it there. Cover. Alright. So let's get into this. Alright. Where we at? Okay. The stomach. Alright. We'll take it back to when he breaks down all 3.
My enemies are like a serpent. The head is the Jebel al-Druze, the stomach Homs, and the tail Aleppo. If I crush the head, the serpent will die. Shishakli dispatched 10,000 regular troops to occupy the Jebel al-Druze. Several towns were bombarded with heavy weapons, killing scores of civilians and destroying many houses. According to Druze accounts, Shishakli encouraged neighboring Bedouin tribes to plunder the defenseless population and allowed his own troops to run amok. Shishakli launched a brutal campaign to defame the Druze for their religion and politics. He accused the entire community of treason, at times claiming they were in the employ of the British and Hashemites.
Now, as you know, right, they'll tell you how loyal they are within, you know, certain, like the communities that they're in, right? But they also quick to jump ship. They quick to bounce from side to side, right? So when we think about the statement being said and how, you know, campaign to defame them, you know, the Druze, where it says right here, it says the Druze for their religion and politics, because we know that from what we've understood that they've always had a strong influence in the political field. But, you know, I did not know Casey Kasem was a Drew, right? So he accused the entire community of treason. Now, if we think about the situations that we are in today in America, right? And then we also see the Europeans, you know, over, you know, across the pond, right? You know, we hear them and they basically having these internal strifes as well, right? So we're going to get back into that, but I just wanted to, you know, take the time and mention it, so when we go back to it, we'll see the similarities and the connections. Because once I'm gonna say, because I'm trying to get enough of this out, so hopefully by September, October, whenever I'm bringing things up, they'll always show the connections. Like I said, I like to have everything out. I don't want, you know, one section and then jumping around as if it was like, you know, the pastor with the Bible and trying to convince you of something. I'm not here for that. I'm here to show you the information. And then as we go through things, everybody who's up to point will be able to say, okay, I'm seeing it, versus, people later and they just coming in. And for those people, they'll just be either getting it or not getting it because they didn't understand the totality of it, right? So now we're going to go back into, right, where it says the time at times claiming they were the employee of the British and Hashemites.
Others that they were fighting for Israel against the Arabs.
Right, and that what they were fighting for Israel against the Arabs, because even when you look up, the Druze, and you look at they pictures, right, you will see that. Hold on, let me see my time. I know it had. Hold on a minute here. Let's go back to show. Okay. So, you will see this trend, right? And so this is what I'm trying to point out, that if you go into, you look up the Druze, you look in their pictures, you will see even on their flag, on some of them, they put the Jewish flag, the Jewish star on their flag, because they're not religious people. They'll just take those doctrines in order to be around you, just like when you see a lot of Freemasonic, I want to say indications, right? When you study, Freemasonry, you'll see that they'll have all of these religious things in them, because they associate themselves with all of them in order to infiltrate and destroy that system with logic. Now, my thing is, I don't have a problem with, being informed. But while they're informing you of one thing, you are not aware that they're also indoctrinating you into another system. That's what I have a problem with. If they were just setting the mind free, okay, blah, 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 no. But remember, these are the Greeks, right? And I'll be proving that once again as we go on. Right, so where did it go? British, Hamites, Israelites, okay, and Arabs. Wait, against the Arabs.
He even produced a cache of Israeli weapons allegedly discovered in the Jabal. Even more painful for the Druze community was his publication of falsified Druze religious texts and false testimonials ascribed to leading Druze sheiks, designed to stir up sectarian hatred. This propaganda also was broadcast in the Arab world, mainly Egypt. Shishakli was assassinated in Brazil on September 27, 1964, by a Druze seeking revenge for Shishakli's bombardment of the Jebel al-Druze. He forcibly integrated minorities into the national Syrian social structure. His Syrianization of Alawite and Druze territories had to be accomplished in part using violence. To this end, al-Shishakli encouraged the stigmatization of minorities. He saw minority demands as tantamount to treason. His increasingly chauvinistic notions of Arab nationalism were predicated on the denial that minorities existed in Syria. After the Shishakli's military campaign, the Druze community lost much of its political influence, but many Druze military officers played important roles in the Pt.2 government currently ruling Syria.
Now, you see what they just said, right? Druze community lost much of its political influence. Right, but many Druze military officers played important roles in the Ba'ath government currently ruling Syria. So they always keep that grip within the communities.
Yeah. In 1967, a community of Druze in the Golan Heights came under Israeli control, today numbering 23,000 in 2019.
Right now, the Golan Heights is in Israel, right? So, they came under their control, right? Today, numbering 20,000, 23,000, and this is of, 2019.
The
3 years ago.
Massacre was a reported massacre of Syrian Druze on June 10, 2015 in the village of Kalblos in Syria's northwestern Idlib Governorate, in which 20 to 24 Druze were killed. On July 25, 2018, a group of ISIS-affiliated attackers entered the Druze city of As-Suwaida and initiated a series of gunfights and suicide bombings on its streets, killing at least 258 people, the vast majority of them civilians. In Lebanon. Main article, Druze in Lebanon. Prophet Job Shrine in Nia village in the Chuf region. 043. A market in a Lebanese Druze town called Hasbaya, 1967. The Druzite community in Lebanon played an important role in the formation of the modern state of Lebanon, and even though they are a minority, they play an important role in the Lebanese political scene.
Once again, the Druze community in Lebanon played an important role in the formation of modern state of Lebanon. And even though they are a minority, they play an important role in the Lebanese political scene. Think about how we think about the Freemasons, and they are this minority, quote unquote, but at the same time, when you think of the presidents and all of that, they came, Masons, right? So even though this small majority has majority of the say in the politics that you come across to today.
Before and during the Lebanese Civil War, 1975 to 90, the Druze were in favor of Pan-Arabism and Palestinian resistance, represented by the PLO. Most of the community supported the Progressive Socialist Party formed by their leader Kamal Jumblat, and they fought alongside other leftist and Palestinian parties against the Lebanese front that was mainly constituted of Christians.
Right. Now pay attention to what you are hearing. Whenever you see this quote unquote resistance, right, these are the people who's basically facilitating it, right? And so here it is, a group that doesn't have a problem with Christianity or, the Jews or, any of these religious affiliations. Ironically, they still find a way to be on the side of combating it. And once the combatants is over, they remain having this strong influence of.
After the assassination of Kamal Jumblat on March 16, 1977, his son Walid Jumblat took the leadership of the party and played an important role in preserving his father's legacy after winning the Mountain War and sustained the existence of the Druze community. During the sectarian bloodshed that lasted until 1990. In August 2001, Maronite Catholic Patriarch Nasrallah Boutros Sphere toured the predominantly Druze Chuf region of Mount Lebanon and visited Muqtara, the ancestral stronghold of Druze leader Walid Jumblat. The tumultuous reception that Sphere received not only signified a historic reconciliation between Maronites and Druze, who fought a bloody war in 1983 to 1984, but underscored the fact that the banner of Lebanese sovereignty had broad multi-confessional appeal and was a cornerstone for the Cedar Revolution in 2005.
Right. Now, to two things I want you to pay attention to. Cornerstone. Alright? Alright, notice how, you're going to notice how this, comes up again, right? But also understand that, look, they had a conflict with one, right, in the 80s, but now all of a sudden they have this, new light, right? But if you see the Cedar Revolution, so once again, when it comes down to causing the chaos, these are the people, right?
Jumblatt's post-2005 position diverged sharply from the tradition of his family. He also accused Damascus of being behind the 1977 assassination of his father, Kamal Jumblatt, expressing for the first time what many knew he privately suspected. The BBC describes Jumblatt as the leader of Lebanon's most powerful Druze clan and heir to a leftist political dynasty. The second largest political party supported by Druze is the Lebanese Democratic Party led by Prince Talal Arslan, the son of Lebanese independence hero Amir Majid Arslan.
Right. Now, as you see, also, highlighted, the leader of the Lebanese most powerful Druze clan, right, and heir to what? A leftist political dynasty. Leftist political. Right? So when we see this system that you see today, it's ironic that even in America we deal with this leftist and far right, right? And not to say that they play a side. They on both sides.
In Israel.
Now hold on, right? Hold on. I'm gonna take this picture and I'm gonna make it bigger. Let's see. All right, because I want you to pay attention, to how they are among, the Jews and, in Israel, right? And I'm going to pull up other pictures later where we're going to see how even, because this is, let me see here, this right here, hold on, all right? This flag right here is the Druze flag. We already know the Israel flag. So when you see this flag right here, understand that's the Druze flag. So when I bring up, other pictures, you will see what I'm talking. Let me bring this back down. All right. All right.
Israeli Druze scouts marched to Jethro's tomb. Today, thousands of Israeli Druze belong to such Druze Zionist movements. The Druzites form a religious minority in Israel of more than 100,000, mostly residing in the north of the country. In 2004, there were 102,000 Druze living in the country. In 2010, the population of Israeli Druze citizens grew to over 125,000. At the end of 2018, there were 143,000 in Israel and the Israeli-occupied portion of the Golan Heights. Most Israeli Druze identify ethnically as Arabs. Today, thousands of Israeli Druze belong to Druze Zionist movements. Some scholars maintain that Israel has tried to separate the Druze from other Arab communities, and that the effort has influenced the way Israel's Druze perceive their modern identity. In 1957, the Israeli government designated the Druze a distinct ethnic community at the request of its communal leaders.
Look at that. Hold on. Right? It says, the Israeli government designated the Druze as a distinct ethnic community. But what? At the request of its communal leaders. So it wants to be separated from even its Arab lineage. It's like, nah, we distinct. Don't even, associate us with them over there. So now, while it's making it seem like the Jews are doing this, no, this is at their request.
The Druze are Arabic-speaking citizens of Israel and serve in the Israel Defense Forces, just as most citizens do in Israel. Members of the community have attained top positions in Israeli politics and public service.
What? You see, I voted it out for you, but, let's, put this here. All right? Top position in Israeli politics and public service. All right?
The number of Druze parliament members usually exceeds their proportion in the Israeli population, and they are integrated within several political parties.
What? So as you see, right, they are in parliament, and it exceeds, their population. So based on their population, the amount of people within the parliament is crazy. Right? Not to say crazy, but that's a very strong influence that a person has. Or a people, should I say. All right? So now we got that. Let's keep going. Jordan.
In Jordan. Main article, Druze
in Jordan.
The Druzites form a religious minority in Jordan of around 32,000, mostly residing in the northwestern part of the country. Beliefs. God. The Druze conception of the deity is declared by them to be one of strict and uncompromising unity. The main Druze doctrine states that God is both transcendent and immanent, in which he is above all attributes, but at the same time he is present. In their desire to maintain a rigid confession of unity, they stripped from God all attributes, tanzi. In God, there are no attributes distinct from his essence. He is wise, mighty, and just, not by wisdom, might, and justice, but by his own essence. God is the whole of existence, rather than above existence or on his throne, which would make him limited. There is neither how, when, nor where about him. He is incomprehensible. In this dogma, they are similar to the semi-philosophical, semi-religious body which flourished under Al-Mamun and was known by the name of Mutazila and the Fraternal Order of the Brethren of Purity, Ikhwan.
Wait, what? The Fraternal Order. Alright? Let's understand it, because you'll see, the Fraternal Order of Police, the Fraternal Order. This is Masonic. Right? This is all Masonic.
Of the Brethren of Purity, Ikhwan al-Afa. Unlike the Mutazila, and similar to some branches of Sufism, the Druze believe in the concept of tajalli, meaning theophany. Tajalli is often misunderstood by scholars and writers, and is usually confused with the concept of incarnation. Incarnation is the core spiritual beliefs in the Druze and some other intellectual and spiritual traditions. In a mystical sense, it refers to the light of God experienced by certain mystics who have reached a high level of purity in their spiritual journey. Thus, God is perceived as the Lahut, the divine, who manifests his light in the station, Maqam, of the Nasit, material realm, without the Nasit becoming Lahut. This is like one's image in the mirror. One is in the mirror, but does not become the mirror. The Druze manuscripts are emphatic and warn against the belief that the Nasid is God. Neglecting this warning, individual seekers, scholars, and other spectators have considered Al-Hakim and other figures divine. In the Druze scriptural view, tajalli takes a central stage. One author comments that tajalli occurs when the seeker's humanity is annihilated so that divine attributes and light are experienced by the person. Druze dignitaries celebrating the Nabi Shuaib festival at the tomb of the Prophet in Hittin, Israel. Scriptures. Druze sacred texts include the Quran and the Epistles of Wisdom. Other ancient Druze writings include the Rasail al-Hind, Epistles of India, and the previously lost or hidden manuscripts such as al-Munfarid Baidatihai and al-Sharia al-Rahaniya, as well as others, including didactic and polemic treatises. Reincarnation. See also Reincarnation Druze. Reincarnation is a paramount principle in the Druze faith. Reincarnations occur instantly at one's death because there is an eternal duality of the body and the soul, and it is impossible for the soul to exist without the body. A human soul will transfer only to a human body, in contrast to the Hindu and Buddhist belief systems.
Now you see, I was waiting for that to come, because up here you'll see, right, that the Druze sacred, texts include, the Quran and the epistles of wisdom, right? But it also includes, the epistles, my fault, of India, right? And so we know that what they do is take these understandings and twist them to their will, right? So now, even when it's time to attack, Buddhism, because, I want you to pay attention to me mentioning these things, because it's going to come back up in a few. And so I wanted to point this out, right? As a matter of fact, let me highlight that and bold it for you, right? For the hidden manuscript. So we, reincarnation. Let's go back down here, right?
Reincarnation is a paramount principle in the Druze faith. Reincarnations occur instantly at one's death because there is an eternal duality of the body and the soul, and it is impossible for the soul to exist without the body. A human soul will transfer only to a human body, in contrast to the Hindu and Buddhist belief systems.
All right. In contrast, right, to what? The Hindu, right, and Buddhist belief system. So while they go into these places, understand their belief system, they set up a system, quote unquote, logic and stuff like that, which I don't have a problem with, but they're only going into any of these systems to attack it. So any system that you set up, they'll come in guise of, but they're really there. That's why I say you go on Clubhouse and you listen to these people, you will see the same thing. You will hear anything that you talk about, they find a way to attack it. They will attack it. They will find a way to make it other than any of you black. Oh, it's a social construct, and we'll be getting into social construct and how this is the Greeks as well. So while they're using this, that comes from Socrates, right? So we will be getting into all of this. Everything will be addressed. I just want to, point out certain things so that way we can all be on the same page and basically understand who were the Druze.
According to which souls can transfer to any living creature. Furthermore, a male Druze can be reincarnated only as another male Druze, and a female Druze only as another female Druze. A Druze cannot be reincarnated in the body of a non-Druze. Additionally, souls cannot be divided, and the number of souls existing in the universe is finite. The cycle of rebirth is continuous, and the only way to escape is through successive reincarnations. When this occurs, the soul is united with the cosmic mind and achieves the ultimate happiness.
Right? Now, we go into the spirituality division, right? The cosmic mind, and achieves ultimate happiness. So, while they attacking others, they, employ their tactics of having you under their, quote unquote religious guidelines, right? So let's keep going.
Pact of Time Custodian. The Pact of Time Custodian, Mithaq Wali Alzaman, is considered the entrance to the Druze religion, and they believe that all Druze in their past lives have signed this charter, and Druze believe that this charter embodies with human souls after death.
Selling one's soul, right? Pact of the Time Custodian, right? Understand is considered the entrance to the Druze religion, right? This is the entrance to it. Once you sign this contract, selling your soul, they believe that all Druze in their past life has signed this charter, right? And Druze believe that this charter embodies the human what? Souls. Embodies with human souls after death. Right? So when you're selling your soul, then you understanding this is what you are doing.
I rely on our Mullah al-Hakim, the lonely God, the individual, the eternal, who is out of couples and numbers, someone, the son of someone, has approved recognition enjoined on himself and on his soul, in a healthy of his mind and his body, permissibility aversive is obedient and not forced, to repudiate from all creeds, articles and all religions and beliefs on the differences varieties. And he does not know something except obedience of Almighty Maulana al-Hakim, and obedience is worship, and that it does not engage in worship anyone ever attended or wait, and that he had handed his soul and his body and his money and all he owns to Almighty Maulana al-Hakim.
Hold on. Now, we think about the cults, right? We think about the cults and how, they'll get you to relinquish all your stuff, right? And because you don't need it. That's how these systems, that's how, all of the Jim Joneses and Dr. Malachi Yorks and whatever, these groups are, this is their system, right? And remember, this is hypnotism and mesmerism as well, right?
Also use a similar formula, called Al-HD, when one is initiated into the Akal. Sanctuaries. Main article, Druze Khalwa. Druze clerics in Khalwat al-Bayada. The prayer houses of the Druze are called Khalwa or Khalwat. The primary sanctuary of the Druze is at Khalwat al-Bayada. Esotericism. The Druze believe that many teachings given by prophets, religious leaders, and holy books have esoteric meanings preserved for those of intellect, in which some teachings are symbolic and allegorical in nature, and
hold on, right? In which some teachings, right, where it says preserved for those of intellect. Like I said, a lot of this I don't necessarily have a problem with. My intellect led me to this research, right? But the problem is I'm not adding nothing to it. There's no funny suits. There's no nothing. You're getting this information for those who can grasp it and understand it. Then this is for you. You understand what I'm saying? So this is not nothing that you have to come to some secret class and get, in which some teachings are what? Symbolic, right? So we know the Freemasons deal with symbolism and allegoric. Allegorical, right? But, allegories. And we also know that, the Bible says that those are allegorical stories, right?
In nature, and divide the understanding of holy books and teachings into 3 layers. These layers, according to the Druze, are as follows. The obvious or exoteric, Zahir, accessible to anyone who can read or hear. The hidden or esoteric, Batin, accessible to those who are willing to search and learn through the concept of exegesis. And the hidden of the hidden, a concept known as anagogy, inaccessible to all but a few really enlightened individuals who truly understand the nature of the universe. Druze do not believe that the esoteric meaning abrogates or necessarily abolishes the exoteric one. Hamza bin Ali refutes such claims by stating that if the esoteric interpretation of tahara, purity, is purity of the heart and soul, it doesn't mean that a person can discard his physical purity, as salat, prayer, is useless if a person is untruthful in his speech, and that the esoteric and exoteric meanings complement each other.
It's a fact.
7 Druze precepts. Further information, 7 pillars of Ismailism Druze list. The Druze follow 7 moral precepts or duties that are considered the core of the faith. The 7 Druze precepts are veracity in speech and the truthfulness of the tongue, protection and mutual aid to the brethren in faith.
Right. So, right, we know that, the Freemason, right, the duty is to come to the aid of his brother or his brethren, and that's right. I believe that's in the Blue Lodge, because as you go through, the Blue Lodge is brethren, Red Lodge is comrade, right? So, like, these are the references in which they'll use towards each other. If I'm correct, if it's either way around, it don't matter. All right? You do research and you'll see that, in the Blue Lodge, they refer to each other as brethren, but in the Red Lodge, they refer to themselves as comrade.
Renunciation of all forms of former worship, specifically invalid creeds and false belief. Repudiation of the devil, Iblis, and all forces of evil, translated from Arabic togian, meaning despotism. Confession of God's unity. Acquiescence in God's acts, no matter what they be. Absolute submission and resignation to God's divine will in both secret and public.
Right, what? In both, right? Absolute submission, right? To God's divine will in what? Let's just bold you there. Secret and public.
Kia. Complicating their identity is the custom of taqiyya, concealing or disguising their beliefs when necessary, that they adopted from Ismailism and the esoteric nature of the faith, in which many teachings are kept secretive. This is done in order to keep the religion from those who are not yet prepared to accept the teachings and therefore could misunderstand it, as well as to protect the community when it is in danger. Some claim to be Muslim or Christian in order to avoid persecution, some do not. Druze in different states can have radically different lifestyles.
Okay, so as we understand, I'm looking at the time, right? Complicating their identity is the custom of taqiyya. What? Concealing or disguising their beliefs when necessary. That they adopted from Ishmael and the esoteric nature of the faith, in which many teachings are kept secretive. So as you go on, you will learn these quote unquote secretive things. But as you are engaged in that, you become hypnotized and mesmerized, right? For those who are not of a certain level. And so they, go on to keep this secretive bind, right? This is done in order to keep the religion from those who are not yet prepared, right? Now, in Freemasonry, they prepare the candidate, right? Prepared to accept the teachings, and therefore could misunderstand it, as well as what to protect the community when it is in danger. Right, so understand that there's these groups who can be right around you, and they'll come under all of these different guises, in order to, infiltrate while keeping themselves out of danger for performing these acts. Right, some claim to be what? Muslim or Christian, in order to what? Avoid persecution. So here it is, you can claim to be Muslim or Christian, but for what reason? To avoid persecution. Some do not, some are bold. They're like, nah, listen, I'm not hiding this. This is what I am, right? Druze in different states have radically different lifestyles. So don't be confused about one thing or another, because wherever you're at, you could be doing whatever you want, as long as this system is moving along.
Theophany. Hamza ibn Ali ibn Ahmad is considered the founder of the Druze and the primary author of the Druze manuscripts. He proclaimed that God had become human and taken the form of man. Ad-Daratzi is an important figure in the Druze faith, whose eponymous founder Ad-Daratzi proclaimed him as the incarnation of God in 1018.
Right. Now, when we get into prophethood, I want you to take notice to, these pictures. And then when we look at, the Nation of Islam and, all of these different organizations, pay attention to their layout, okay? Pay attention to this, and you will see that once again, they are all under this system, whether they know it or not. Most don't. I know for a fact most don't, but then there are others that I suspect they know, because I remember, matter of fact, hold on one second. Let me, pardon me, got my keyboard way over there. Okay. I'm looking for this picture. Usually you'll see it, you know, by the followers, and they'll usually have a picture of Elijah Muhammad up, and they'll have a picture of W.D. Farad, right? Let me see. I don't like taking the time to stop, but I will. I move this over here. Alright, mosque. Okay, but it's giving me a picture of, I guess you can see the Nation of Islam, but also, you know, other masjids. Okay, let me see. Hopefully, so I wanted to see them both together. I don't like just saying this. I like for you to, you know, see it within your own, because it'll be like the picture. I'm gonna show you this anyway. Let's slide over here. All right, slide over to the news. All right, so now usually you'll see, let's see, all right, now you'll see, like, see how you got these two pictures right here? You'll usually see those in the masjid, like it'll be, or any, you know, people who come out of that school. I'll be showing some videos, and in those videos I'll have, you know, you'll see this inside there. So I just wanted to take the time to point that out, right? So let's go back up here. So the reason why I'm saying that is so you can see, you know, and when I do, I'll be using this picture again, you know, so we can all be on the same page on that. All right. Oh, I'm over here doing it on the wrong. All right, let's go. Because remember, we're dealing with prophethood now, and you know, Elijah Muhammad and W.D. Farad are considered the prophets, so they would have the same, you know, picture. That's how you know they all coming out of the same union. Let me move this back over here.
Prophethood. The Druze Makam al-Nabi Yahya, John the Baptist, and Asaweda Governorate. Recognition of prophets in the Druze religion is divided into three sort of subcategories: the prophet themselves, Nadic, their disciples, Aziz, and witnesses to their message, Hujjah. The number 5 contains an unstated significance within the Druze faith. It is believed in this area that great prophets come in groups of 5.
I was supposed to, I need this. I needed that for something else. I was looking for it yesterday. I didn't put it in there, but I'm gonna keep that. Okay. Groups and number of 5. Alright. Okay. Remember that. Well, I'll bring it back up.
In the time of the ancient Greeks, these 5 were represented by Pythagoras, Plato, Aristotle, Parmenides, and Empedocles.
Right now, as you see, I already, you know, bolded out what in the time of the ancient Greeks, right? These 5 were represented by, you know, and I highlighted all of them for you Pythagoras, I don't know how to pronounce that, Plato, Aristotle, Parmenides, and, these last two I don't know too much about, but the first three, I've did extensive research on. I'll take the time to learn about these guys.
In the 1st century, the five were represented by Jesus Christ, John the Baptist, Saint Matthew, Saint Mark, and Saint Luke. In the time of the faith's foundation, the five were Hamza ibn Ali ibn Ahmad, Muhammad ibn Wahb al-Qurashi, Abu al-Khair Salama ibn Abd al-Wahhab al-Samuri, Ismail ibn Muhammad at-Tamimi, and al-Muqtana Bahuddin. Druze believed that Hamza ibn Ali was a reincarnation of many prophets, including Jesus, Plato, Aristotle. Druze tradition...
Hold on a minute now, right? He believes that, the reincarnation of many prophets, including whom? Jesus. Right? So we already went into, Jesus being Julius Caesar, right? So they also give in Plato. And we need to know these because we're going to get into them. That's why I spent a lot of time more. Actually, how did I knew about everybody most, like if you went to school, you would know about, the Greek philosophers. So I knew about them before I knew about the Druze, right? So just understand, so when we get into them, because I'm going to go into them, I already did Jesus, right? So when we do Plato and Aristotle, you'll understand, how this all plays in together, and to believe in Druze, right?
Druze tradition honors and reveres Salman the Persian as mentor and prophet, and believed to be reincarnations of the monotheistic idea. Other beliefs. The Druze allow divorce, although it is discouraged, and circumcision is not necessary. When Al-Hakim returns, all faithful Druze will join him in his march from China and on to conquer the world.
What did they just tell you right there? Huh? What? Let's bold that for you, right? When Al-Hakim returns, all faithful Druze will join him in his march from China and on to conquer the world. Right? So understand this. Look at the terms that you see. Understand the tactics that is being used against you, and you should be able to understand what is taking place.
Apostasy is forbidden, and they usually have religious services on Thursday evenings. Druze follow Sunni Hanafi law on issues which their own faith has no particular rulings about. Formal Druze worship is confined to weekly meeting on Thursday evenings, during which all members of community gather together to discuss local issues before those not initiated into the secrets of the faith.
What? Before what? Those not initiated in the secret of the faith.
Juhal, or the ignorant, are dismissed.
Right? So they automatically call them the ignorant. Right? Let's bring that back here.
Not initiated into the secrets of the faith, the Juhal, or the ignorant, are dismissed, and those who are Uqal or enlightened, those few initiated in the Druze holy books, remain to read and study.
Right? So again, the what enlightened. Remember these terminologies. Remember what you are hearing, right? Because now we have the enlightenment stage, right? We have that. We have your enlighteners when you get in this information, those who's revealing what it means to you, right? And so even before you come in, you get your, your 1 to 10s and all of that. Then you get your student enrollment. So you get one thing that attracts you. That's why, what RZA said, he said, he loved the gods with all his heart, but his mind was full of sin. Right, so he only knew the 1 to 10. He loved the gods with all his heart, but his mind was full of sin. Right, so he got that, that little bit of information, the 1 to 10 in the alphabets, and that was all he needed, but they saying his mind was full of sin, right? So.
Religious symbol. The Druze strictly avoid iconography, but use 5 colors, 5 limits, kamzad, as a religious symbol: green, red, yellow, blue, and white. The 5 limits were listed by Ismail at-Tamimi, died in 1030, in the Epistle of the Candle, Risalat ash-Shammai, as first limit, Hamza ibn Ali, or Jesus according to other sources.
Second limit, Ismail ibn Muhammad ibn Hamed at-Tamimi, Ismail at-Tamimi.
Third limit, Muhammad ibn Wahb. Fourth limit, as Sabik the Anterior, Salama ibn Abd al-Wahhab. Fifth limit, Allahik the Posterior, Ali ibn Ahmed as Samuki. Each of the colors representing the 5 limits pertains to a metaphysical power called ad, literally a limit, as in the...
Hold on. Now, when we listen to the woke community, what do they talk about? Oh, the metaphysical, right, and all of that. So each color, remember when you hear them with the shaka and, the colors, understand that you are being indoctrinated into this system. Each of the colors represents the 5 limits pertaining to the metaphysical power, right?
A metaphysical power called ad, literally a limit, as in the distinctions that separate humans from animals, or the powers that make humans the animalistic body. Each ad is color-coded in the following manner. Green for Akal, the universal mind / intelligence / nous. Red for Nafs, the universal soul / anima mundi. Yellow for Kalima, the word / logos. Blue for Sabik, the anterior / potentiality / cause / precedent, the first intellect. White for Allahik, the posterior / future / effect / eminence.
All right.
The mind generates qualia and gives consciousness. The soul embodies the mind and is responsible for transmigration and the character of oneself. The word, which is the atom of language, communicates qualia between humans and represents the Platonic forms in the sensible world. The Sabik and Tali is the ability to perceive and learn from the past and plan for the future and predict it. The colors can be arranged in vertically descending stripes as a flag or a 5-pointed star. The stripes are a diagrammatic cut of the spheres in Neoplatonic philosophy, while the 5-pointed star embodies the golden ratio, phi, as a symbol of temperance and a life of moderation. General Grand Chapter logo.
Alright, so here we go. Now this is the Eastern Star symbol. Right? Now as you see, what do we have in common here? Right? Alright, so we understand these 3. We also went into what these colors mean. Let's go back up here again so you also see the star. Now, whether they bent it to the side or not, it doesn't matter. It is meant to be for the ignorant anyway. They will never be a part of. They will just be used. Right? So now let's go down here.
The Order of the Eastern Star is a Masonic appendant body open to both men and women. It was established in 1850, 172 years ago, by lawyer and educator Rob Morris, a noted Freemason, and adopted and approved as an appendant body of the Masonic fraternity in 1873. The order is based on some teachings from the Bible and is open to people of all religious beliefs. It has approximately 10,000 chapters in 20 countries and approximately 500,000 members under its General Grand Chapter. Members of the Order of the Eastern Star are aged 18 and older. Men must be Master Masons and women must have specific relationships with Masons. Originally, a woman would have to be the daughter, widow, wife, sister, or mother of a Master Mason. The Order now allows other relatives as well as allowing Job's daughters, Rainbow Girls, members of the Organization of Triangles, New York only, and members of the Constellation of Junior Stars, New York only, to become members when of age. The emblem of the Order is a 5-pointed star with the white ray of the star pointing downwards towards the manger. The meaning of the letters fatal surrounding the center pentagon in the emblem is only revealed to members of the Order.
Right, so let's go back up here because it's saying the white is pointing down, right? What is white, right? The posterior future effects, right? So now when we see in this, right, we can understand because we can always go back, right? Universal mind is green, right? Then we have, red, universal soul, right? So, remember the blood of Jesus and all of these things. So when you look at this, you will come to an understanding of what you are dealing with, right? So then it goes, the emblem of the order is 5-pointed star, that the white ray of the star pointing downward towards the manger, right? Meaning of the letters fatal, F-A-T-A-L, we get into this, surrounding the center pentagram, and the emblem is only revealed to members of the order. In the chapter room, right, the downward pointing white ray points to the west, right, out of the east to the west. The chapter buildings, lessons taught in the order are stories, right, inspired by biblical figures, right?
In the chapter room, the downward-pointing white ray points to the west. The character-building lessons taught in the Order are stories inspired by biblical figures. Like Freemasonry, the Eastern Star claims not to be a religion. Its candidates are simply required to have a belief in a supreme being, whether it is Buddha, Allah, or Christ.
Remember what we just said about the Druze and their connection with the Buddhism, right, Hinduism, Christianity, Islam. So if you're looking for the connection, by now it should start becoming clear. Now mind you, I added this into this part is not inside this section right here. I added to it yesterday. I said, okay, there's some parts where I can actually just take the time. We'll be getting into it again, but I wanted to show you the connection so it wouldn't look like I was just, talking on my ass and trying to make a connection. No, this is actual fact. So they could get mad due to the fact that they might not be aware of what they are a part of. And then inside there are those who are aware.
Prayer houses and holy places. Jethro Shrine and Temple of Druze in Hittin, northern Israel. Holy places of the Druze are archaeological sites important to the community and associated with religious holidays, the most notable example being Nabi Shuaib, dedicated to Jethro, who is a central figure of the Druze religion. Druze make pilgrimages to this site on the holiday of Ziyarat al-Nabi Shuaib. Druze Prayer House in Daliat al-Carmel, Israel. One of the most important features of the Druze village, having a central role in social life, is the Khalwat, a house of prayer, retreat, and religious unity. The Khalwat may be known as Majlis in local languages. The second type of religious shrine is one associated with the anniversary of a historic event or death of a prophet. If it is a mausoleum, the Druze call it Mazar, and if it is a shrine, they call it Maqam. The holy places become more important to the community in times of adversity and calamity. The holy places and shrines of the Druze are scattered in various villages, in places where they are protected and cared for. They are found in Syria, Lebanon, and Israel. Initiates and ignorant members.
That's it, ignorant members.
Akal, wearing religious dress. The Druze do not recognize any religious hierarchy. As such, there is no Druze clergy. Those few initiated in the Druze holy books are called Akal, while the ignorant, regular members of the group are called Juhal.
Pay attention to this. Right? So it is a hierarchy because it's those who, holy books, those are the you can just say is the clergy, because then you have the ignorant. So, it's like my enlightener, right? So if you have pardon me here, if you dealing with masonry or these groups, right, these enlighteners, you are the ignorant one. Right there alone, somebody else is dictating, right? Because they'll tell you, oh, be careful, the enlightener, because you take on those attributes. Even though, they'll tell you, oh, it's God body and, everybody is one, there's no ruler. But yes, as long as you're inside this system, you do have quote unquote a pastor, but he's your enlightener, right? Because you are the ignorant one.
Given the strict religious, intellectual, and spiritual requirements, most of the Druze are not initiated and might be referred to as al-Juhal, literally the ignorant, but in practice referring to the non-initiated Druze.
Right? So given the strict religious, intellectual, and spiritual requirements, most of the Druze are not initiated and might be referred to as, the Juhal, literally the ignorant. Right, so even if you are not initiated, you are still a part of that ignorant factor, right? So even those who say you have a top, those underneath, right, who's are in it, they are the ignorant ones. They didn't know. So even when you walk into Freemasonry, you were stripped to this and you're given this information. So at the same time, you remain the ignorant one, right? And so, but practice referring to the non-initiated Druze, right? However, the term is seldom used by Druze, so they won't use it because, I guess it would be insulting. Those Druze are not granted access to the Druze holy literature or allowed to attend the initiated religious meetings of the, Ukal. It'll read it.
However, that term is seldom used by the Druze. Those Druze are not granted access to the Druze holy literature or allowed to attend the initiated religious meetings of the Akal. The Juhal are the vast majority of the Druze community.
The what? The Druze are the vast majority of the Druze community. This system of keeping you ignorant while you thinking you have something over someone else. So this is why when you tell the truth, they will get offended because they only know it to their level of being given it. They are ignorant themselves. You're enlightened. Those spiritual leaders and all of that, though, they don't even know most of the time. They're just giving up to their understanding. I got a fucking fly or a gnat, whatever the fuck that shit is, flying around. Anyway, right? The Druze are the vast majority of the Druze community. Pay attention to that.
The Juhal are the vast majority of the Druze community. The cohesiveness and frequent inter-community social interaction, however, enables most Druze to have an idea about their broad ethical requirements and have some sense of what their theology consists of, albeit often flawed. The initiated religious group, which includes both men and women, less than 10% of the population, is...
So when we hear, right, the 5% or the 10%, remember these statements outside of your reading. So when you're dealing with other systems, you have a full understanding of their connection. The initiated religious group, which includes both men and women. Right? Remember we said the Eastern Stars. Less than 10% of the population is called out, the knowledgeable initiates. Right? Let's take it back here.
The initiated religious group, which includes both men and women, less than 10% of the population, is called al-Aql, the knowledgeable initiates. They might or might not dress differently, although most wear a costume that was characteristic of mountain people in previous centuries. Women can opt to wear al-Mandal, a loose white veil, especially in the presence of other people. They wear al-Mandal on their heads to cover their hair and wrap it around their mouths. They wear black shirts and long skirts covering their legs to their ankles. Male Aql often grow mustaches and wear dark Levantine Turkish traditional dresses, called the shirval, with white turbans that vary according to the seniority of the Aql. Traditionally, the Druze women have played an important role, both socially and religiously, inside the community.
Right. I should have bolded this out. Right. Because we dealt with Solomon's temple, right? Building of the temple. We dealt with Neymar, Lilith, and all of these people, right? We know that when we dealt with King Solomon, right, and building the temple, we know that the demon helped build that, but that demon was, born out of Neymar, King Solomon's wife. So we'll be getting back into that, but I wanted to take the time to understand the manipulation that they use, even through using the women. Traditionally, the Druze women have played an important role, both socially and religiously, inside the community. But it's not but keep in mind that it's not a religion.
Al-Aql have equal rights to al-Juhal, but establish a hierarchy of respect based on religious service. The most influential of al-Aql become Ajawid, recognized religious leaders, and from this group the spiritual leaders of the Druze are assigned. While the Sheikh al-Aql, which is an official position in Syria, Lebanon, and Israel, is elected by the local community and serves as the head of the Druze Religious Council, judges from the Druze religious courts are usually elected for this position. Unlike the spiritual leaders, the authority of the Sheikh al-Aql is limited to the country he is elected in, though in some instances spiritual leaders are elected to this position.
Right, because we notice how, right, we keep hearing what? Spiritual leaders, right? Unlike what? The spiritual leaders. Right? So when we think of this, always keep in mind that we are what? Dealing with spirituality now. Oh yeah, spirituality this, spirituality that.
The Druze believe in the unity of God and are often known as the people of monotheism or simply monotheists. Their theology has a Neoplatonic view about how God interacts with the world through emanations and is similar to some Gnostic and other esoteric sections. Druze philosophy also shows Sufi influences. Druze principles focus on honesty, loyalty, filial piety, altruism, patriotic sacrifice, and monotheism. They reject nicotine, alcohol, and other drugs and often the consumption of pork, to those Aql, and not necessarily to be required by the Juhal.
Right, so hold on. Right? And what? Not, and not necessarily required, by the Juhal, the ignorant ones. So as you climb up, you're supposed to have this sanctified thing. Me, I don't smoke, I don't drink no more. I'm not a part of this. I just grew out of certain things. Right now, if I'm around, the people that I used to like being around, I would feel comfortable drinking around them, but then I started noticing I was being judged, like even, oh, you sure you're not drunk? And like, nigga, I tell you I'm not drunk, I'm not drunk. You know what I mean? Like, if you see me letting go is because it's certain, like when I first came home, I got drunk only due to the fact twice I got drunk. Right? I mean, twisted. And those were because I was around people that I felt comfortable around to overindulge. Like, normally I wouldn't even overindulge, but I don't know. I just, wanted to. And these are the people that I felt comfortable that I could do that around. But on natural, I'm not that. That type of person. Like, if you saw me by myself, you would probably never see me drinking. And if I did, I would have like I remember when I was hustling, right? I would have a 22. You can go up to like Norwalk in Connecticut, right? You can go up to Norwalk and you could ask, like, if people would tell you, yeah, he would sit on a 22-ounce beer for like 4 or 5 hours. 4 or 5 hours, the same beer, because I wanted to indulge in the drinking, but I didn't feel comfortable in those situations to drop my guard. You understand what I'm saying? Jews reject polygamy.
Druze reject polygamy, believe in reincarnation, and are not obliged to observe most of the religious rituals. The Druze believe that rituals are symbolic and have an individualistic effect on the person, for which...
All right, hold on. Right. Right, so pay attention to this. Right, because these are the things that you hear today in conversations. Right?
The Druze believe that rituals are symbolic and have an individualistic effect on the person, for which reason Druze are free to perform them or not.
So, right, goes Druze believe that rituals are symbolic and have an individualistic effect on the person. Remember, we dealt with hypnotism and mesmerism, right? So understand this. Remember that these are the Greeks. I don't know if we got to that yet. We will be getting into that, right? Well, I don't want to say they're the Greeks, but they're not the Greeks, right? So I don't want to put it all that they're Greeks, but they're not the Greeks either. You'll understand, right, when we get into that part, right? The community does celebrate it, that's the Muslim, celebration after Ramadan, right? You celebrate the Eid. All right.
The community does celebrate Eid al-Adha, however, considered their most significant holiday, though their form of observance is different compared to that of most Muslims. Culture. Israeli Druze family visiting Gamla, wearing religious dress. The life cycle of the average Druze, Juhel, revolves around a very small number of events: birth and circumcision, engagement and marriage, death and burial, and is devoid of special Druze prayers or worship. Marriage outside the Druze faith is forbidden and is strongly discouraged, and if a Druze marries a non-Druze, the Druze may be ostracized and marginalized by their community. Because a non-Druze partner cannot convert to Druze faith, the couple cannot have Druze children, because the Druze faith can only be passed on through birth to two Druze parents. Circumcision is widely practiced by the Druze. The procedure is practiced as a cultural tradition and has no religious significance in the Druze faith. There is no special date for this act in the Druze faith. Male Druze infants are usually circumcised shortly after birth, however some remain uncircumcised until the age of 10 or older. Some Druze do not circumcise their male children and refuse to observe this common Muslim practice. Language. The mother tongue of Druze in Syria, Lebanon, and Israel is Levantine Arabic, except those born and lives in the Druze diaspora, such as Venezuela, where Arabic was not taught or spoken at home. The Druze Arabic dialect, especially in the rural areas, is often different from the other regional Arabic dialects. Druze Arabic dialect is distinguished from others by retention of the phoneme /kaf/. The use of /q/ by Druze is particularly prominent in the mountains and less so in urban areas. The Druze citizens of Israel are Arabic in language and culture, and linguistically speaking, the majority of them are fluently bilingual, speaking both a Central Northern Levantine Arabic dialect and Hebrew. In Druze Arab homes and towns in Israel, the primary language spoken is Arabic, while some Hebrew words have entered the colloquial Arabic dialect. They often use Hebrew characters to write their Arabic dialect online. Druze and other religions. Relationship with Muslims. Kalblos. In June 2015, Druze were massacred there by the jihadist Nusra Front. Historically, the relationship between the Druze and Muslims has been characterized by intense persecution. The Druze faith is often classified as a branch of Ismaili. Even though the faith originally developed out of Ismaili Islam, most Druze do not identify as Muslims, and they do not accept the 5 pillars of Islam. The Druze have frequently experienced persecution by different Muslim regimes such as the Shia Fatimid Caliphate, Mamluk, Sunni Ottoman Empire, and Egypt Eyalet.
Hold on a minute. We will be going into her, even though they'll be mentioning it in a second, but we will be explaining that. We will be explaining up top when it was talking about we'll just go into. Cause I don't want to go back up there. So I'll be addressing certain things, classified blanch, even though their faith originally developed out of Ishmael Islam. The Druze do not identify as Muslims, and they do not accept the 5 pillars of Islam. This whole part right here, we will be addressing. Right, and this is how you're gonna see their bloodline and all of that when we address it.
Caliphate, Mamluk, Sunni Ottoman Empire, and Egypt Eyalet. The persecution of the Druze included massacres, demolishing Druze prayer houses and holy places, and forced conversion to Islam.
That right there. Okay. So understand, right? Forced conversion, to Islam, right? Pay attention to this, right? Those acts of persecution
were meant to eradicate the whole community according to the Druze narrative. Most recently, the Syrian civil war, which began in 2011, saw persecution of the Druze at the hands of Islamic extremists. Since Druze emerged from Islam and share certain beliefs with Islam, its position of whether it is a separate religion or a sect of Islam is sometimes controversial among Muslim scholars. Druze are not considered Muslims by those belonging to Orthodox Islamic schools of thought. Ibn Taymiyyah, a prominent Muslim scholar muhaddith, dismissed the Druze as non-Muslims, and his fatwa cited that Druze are not at the level of all al-Kitab, people of the book, nor mushrikin, polytheists. Rather, they are from the most deviant kafir, infidel. Their women can be taken as slaves and their property can be seized. They are to be killed whenever they are found and cursed as they described. It is obligatory to kill their scholars and religious figures so that they do not misguide others, which in that setting would have legitimized violence against them as apostates. The Ottoman Empire often relied on Ibn Taymiyyah's religious ruling to justify their persecution of Druze. In contrast, according to Ibn Abidin, whose work Rad al-Mudir ala al-Dar al-Mukhtar is still considered the authoritative text of Hanafi fiqh today, the Druze are neither Muslims nor apostates. In 1959, in an ecumenical move driven by Egyptian President Gamal Abdel Nasser's effort to broaden his political appeal after the establishment of the United Arab Republic between Egypt and Syria in 1958, the Islamic scholar Mahmoud Shaltut et al. Azhar University in Cairo classified the Druze as Muslims, even though most Druze no longer consider themselves Muslim. The fatwa declares that the Druze are Muslims because they recite the twofold Shahada and believe in the Quran and monotheism and do not oppose Islam in word or deed. This fatwa was not accepted by all in the Islamic world. Many dissenting scholars have argued the Druze recite the Shahada as a form of taqiyya, a precautionary dissimulation or denial of religious belief and practice in the face of persecution. Some sects of Islam, including all Shia denominations, don't recognize the religious authority of Al-Azhar University. Those that do sometimes challenge the religious legitimacy of Shaltut's fatwa because it was issued for political reasons, as Gamal Abdel Nasser saw it as a tool to spread his appeal and influence across the entire Arab world. In 2012, due to a drift towards Salafism in Al-Azhar and the ascension of the Muslim Brotherhood into Egyptian political leadership, the Dean of the Faculty of Islamic Studies at Al-Azhar issued a fatwa strongly opposed to the 1959 fatwa. Shuaib, Jethro, grave near Hittin, Israel. Both religions venerate Shuaib and Muhammad, Shuaib, Jethro, is revered as the chief prophet in the Druze religion, and in Islam he is considered a prophet of God. Muslims regard Muhammad as the final and paramount prophet sent by God. To the Druze, Muhammad is exalted as one of the 7 prophets sent by God in different periods of history. In terms of religious comparison, Islamic schools and branches do not believe in reincarnation, a paramount tenet of the Druze faith. Islam teaches dawah, whereas the Druze do not accept converts to their faith. Marriage outside the Druze faith is rare and is strongly discouraged. Islamic schools and branches allows for divorce and permits men to be married to multiple women, contrary to the views of the Druze in monogamous marriage and not allowing divorce. Differences between Islamic schools and branches and Druze include their belief in the theophany. Hamza ibn Ali ibn Ahmad is considered the founder of the Druze and the primary author of the Druze manuscripts. He proclaimed that God had become human and taken the form of man, ad-Duratsi. Within Islam, however, such a concept of theophany is a denial of monotheism. The Druze faith incorporates some elements of Islam and other religious beliefs. Druze sacred texts include the Quran and the Epistles of Wisdom, Rizal al-Hikmah. The Druze community does celebrate Eid al-Adha as their most significant holiday, though their form of observance is different compared to that of most Muslims. The Druze faith does not follow Sharia nor any of the 5 pillars of Islam, save reciting the Shahada. Scholars argue that Druze recite the Shahada in order to protect their religion and their own safety, and to avoid persecution by Muslims. Relationship with Christians. Main article, Christianity and Druze. Christian Church and Druze Kalwa in Shef. Historically, the Druzes and the Christians in the Shef Mountains lived in complete harmony. Christianity and Druze are Abrahamic religions that share a historical traditional connection with some major theological differences. The two faiths share a common place of origin in the Middle East and consider themselves to be monotheistic. The relationship between Druze and Christians has been characterized largely by harmony and peaceful coexistence. Amicable relations between the two groups prevailed throughout most of history, though a few exceptions exist, including the 1860 civil conflict in Mount Lebanon and Damascus. Conversion of Druze to Christianity used to be common practice in the Levant region. Over the centuries, a number of Druze embraced Christianity, such as some of Shihab dynasty members, as well as the Abilama clan. Contact between Christian communities, members of the Maronites, Eastern Orthodox, Melkite, and other churches, and the Unitarian Druze led to the presence of mixed villages and towns in Mount Lebanon, Chuf, Jabal al-Druze, the Galilee region, Mount Carmel, and Golan Heights. The Maronite Catholic and the Druze founded modern Lebanon in the early 18th century through a governing and social system known as the Maronite-Druze dualism in the Mount Lebanon Mutasarrifate. Left to right, Christian mountain dweller from Zal, Christian mountain dweller of Zgarda, and a Lebanese Druze man in traditional attire, 1873. Druze doctrine teaches that Christianity is to be esteemed and praised as the gospel writers are regarded as carriers of wisdom.
So now, right, we see that they have no problem jumping ship, right? They'll tell you, this is how you know that they deal with the European, right? Because they'll hide behind Islam, like you went into something to learn about it, right? Or in this case, it was forced upon you, and I'm gonna show that, right? So here goes a system that was forced upon you. So what do? You accept it for your safety, but once you get a chance, you will idolize your Christian counterparts, your white counterparts. And we already went into Julius Caesar being Jesus Christ, right? And so how they match that whole thing. So this system is that same system.
The Druze faith incorporates some elements of Christianity, in addition to adoption of Christian elements on the Epistles of Wisdom. The full Druze canon, or Druze scripture, Epistles of Wisdom, includes the Old Testament, the New Testament, the Quran, and philosophical works by Plato, and those influenced by Socrates among works from other religions and philosophers.
So, right, you take in these Greek, philosophers, right? Remember, the Greeks were the ones who, basically, in the story killed Jesus, but, the Roman Empire is where, Julius Caesar came out of, right? He's, Julius Caesar or the Julius family were Romans, right?
The Druze faith shows influence of Christian monasticism, among other religious practices. In terms of religious comparison, mainstream Christian denominations do not believe in reincarnation or the transmigration of the soul, unlike the Druze. Evangelism is widely seen as central to the Christian faith, unlike the Druze, who do not accept converts. Marriage outside the Druze faith is rare and is strongly discouraged. Similarities between the Druze and Christians include commonalities in their view of monogamous marriage, as well as the forbidding of divorce and remarriage, in addition to the belief in the oneness of God and theophany. Both mainstream Christian denominations and Druze does not require male circumcision, even though male circumcision is commonly practiced in many predominantly Christian countries and many Christian communities, and in Coptic Christianity and the Ethiopian Orthodox Church and the Eritrean Orthodox Tewahedo Church as a rite of passage. Male circumcision is also widely practiced by the Druze, but as a cultural tradition, since circumcision has no religious significance in the Druze faith.
The Druze Ma'ama al Masih Jesus in Asoada governorate, both religions revere Jesus.
Both faiths give a prominent place to Jesus. In Christianity, Jesus is the central figure, seen as the Messiah. To the Druze, Jesus is an important prophet of God, being among the 7 prophets, including Muhammad, who appeared in different periods of history. The Druze revered Jesus, the son of Joseph and Mary, and his 4 disciples, who wrote the Gospels. According to the Druze manuscripts, Jesus is the greatest Imam and the incarnation of ultimate reason, Aql, on earth and the first cosmic principle, Had, and regards Jesus and Hamza ibn Ali as the incarnations of one of the 5 great celestial powers, who form part of their system. Both religions venerate John the Baptist, St. George, Elijah, Luke the Evangelist, Job, and other common figures. Figures in the Old Testament, such as Adam, Noah, Abraham, Moses, and Jethro, are considered important prophets of God in the Druze faith, being among the 7 prophets who appeared in different periods of history. Relationship with Jews. Makam al-Qaider in Kafr Yasif. The relationship between the Druze and Jews has been controversial. Anti-Jewish bias material is contained in the Druze literature, such as the Epistles of Wisdom, for example, in an epistle ascribed to one of the founders of Druzism, Baha'u'llah al-Muqtana, probably written sometime between AD 1027 and AD 1042, accused the Jews of crucifying Jesus. On the other hand, Benjamin of Tudela, a Jewish traveler from the 12th century, pointed out that the Druze maintained good commercial relations with the Jews nearby, and according to him this was because the Druze liked the Jewish people. Yet, the Jews and Druze lived isolated from each other, except in few mixed towns such as Deir al-Qamar and Pekian. The Deir al-Qamar synagogue was built in 1638, during the Ottoman era in Lebanon, to serve the local Jewish population, some of whom were part of the immediate entourage of the Druze emir Fakhr-al-Din II. The conflict between Druze and Jews occurs during the Druze power struggle in Mount Lebanon. Jewish settlements of Galilee, such as Safed and Tiberias, were destroyed by the Druze in 1660. During the Druze revolt against the rule of Ibrahim Pasha of Egypt, the Jewish community in Safed was attacked by Druze rebels in early July 1838. The violence against the Jews included plundering their homes and desecrating their synagogues. Oliphant House in Daliat al-Carmel. During the British Mandate for Palestine, the Druze did not embrace the rising Arab nationalism of the time or participate in violent confrontations with Jewish immigrants. In 1948, many Druze volunteered for the Israeli army, and no Druze villages were destroyed or permanently abandoned. Since the establishment of the State of Israel, the Druze have demonstrated solidarity with Israel and distanced themselves from Arab and Islamic radicalism.
Pay attention to that, right? It says, right, since the establishment of the State of Israel, the Druze have demonstrated solidarity with Israel and distanced themselves from the Arab Islamic radicalism, right? Right, so they had a beef with them, right? Desecrated they churches, the synagogues, right? And once they've established a foundation, they make sure that they put themselves right amongst the mix. Not to say that the Jews haven't done anything, but the Jews seem to be two-faced group of people, or 450 faces, whatever they need, they will put on that face.
Israeli Druze citizens serve in the Israel Defense Forces. The Jewish-Druze partnership was often referred as a covenant of blood, Hebrew, Brit Damim, in recognition of the common military yoke carried by the two peoples for the security of the country. From 1957, the Israeli government formally recognized the Druze as a separate religious community and are defined as a distinct ethnic group in the Israeli Ministry of Interior's census registration. Israeli Druze do not consider themselves Muslim and see their faith as a separate and independent religion. While compared to other Israeli Christians and Muslims, Druze place less emphasis on Arab identity and self-identify more as Israeli. However, they were less ready for personal relationships with Jews compared to Israeli Muslims and Christians. In terms of religious comparison, scholars consider Judaism and the Druze faith as ethno-religious groups, both practicing endogamy, and both typically do not proselytize. The belief in reincarnation had first existed among Jewish mystics in the ancient world, among whom differing explanations were given of the afterlife, although with a universal belief in an immortal soul.
So, once again, we see the taken, or did it come out of this system? Who knows, right? But we'll be getting into that, right? And I can't tell you, because I don't know. I'm not like, through my research, I'm perplexed about it. Like, I'm not really sure, so this is why I said to separate them, but they are bound in blood, right? It tells you this, right?
In terms of religious comparison, scholars consider Judaism and the Druze faith as ethno-religious groups, both practicing endogamy, and both typically do not proselytize. The belief in reincarnation had first existed among Jewish mystics in the ancient world, among whom differing explanations were given of the afterlife, although with a universal belief in an immortal soul. Figures in the Hebrew Bible such as Adam, Noah, Abraham, and Moses are considered important prophets of God in the Druze faith, being among the 7 prophets who appeared in different periods of history. Both religions venerate Elijah, Job, and other common figures. In the Hebrew Bible, Jethro was Moses' father-in-law, a Kenite shepherd and priest of Midian. Jethro of Midian is considered an ancestor of the Druze, who revere him as their spiritual founder and chief prophet.
Now, as you notice, right, the way they did it is, right, because Moses would be like one, they put in themselves in the story. They're saying that, that Jethro is where they come from. So, Moses was a liberator. So they're saying that, they always take the side of this conflicting and warring and, these type of things. So they're associating themselves in advance, like in front of.
Origins. Ethnic origins. This section's factual accuracy is disputed. Relevant discussion may be found on Talk, Druze. Please help to ensure that disputed statements are reliably sourced. May 2014.
Right, so
Arabian hypothesis.
as you notice, hold on. As you notice, I will not make something seem as if everything is factual. So these things are debated, and so inside of there, I didn't want you to hold on to it. I'm looking at the time over here. Trying to see if we have enough time to finish this amount. Right, we got this amount to do, so I might go over the 10 minutes just to get this out. Alright, or I might just let it play through.
To many areas in the Middle East, but most of the modern Druze can trace their origin to the Wadi al-Taim in southern Lebanon, which is named after an Arab tribe Taimala, or Taimalat, which, according to Islamic historian Al-Tabari, first came from the Arabian Peninsula into the valley of the Euphrates, where they had been Christianized. Prior to their migration into Lebanon, many of the Druze feudal families, whose genealogies have been preserved by the two modern Syrian chroniclers Haidar al-Shihabi and Ahmad Faris al-Shidiak, seem also to point in the direction of this origin. Arabian tribes emigrated via the Persian Gulf and stopped in Iraq on their route that would later to lead them to Syria. The first feudal Druze family, the Tanukids, which made for itself a name in fighting the Crusaders, was, according to Haidar al-Shihabi, an Arab tribe from Mesopotamia, where it occupied the position of a ruling family and apparently was Christianized. Travelers like Niebuhr, and scholars like Max von Oppenheim, undoubtedly echoing the popular Druze belief regarding their own origin, have classified them as Arabs. Druze as a mixture of Western Asian tribes. The 1911 edition of Encyclopaedia Britannica states that the Druze are a mixture of refugee stocks, in which the Arab largely predominates, grafted on to an original mountain population of Aramaic blood. Etrurian hypothesis. According to Jewish contemporary literature, the Druze, who were visited and described in 1165 by Benjamin of Tudela, were pictured as descendants of the Etrurians, an Ismailite Arab tribe, which used to reside in the northern parts of the Golan Plateau through Hellenistic and Roman periods. The word Druzes, in an early Hebrew edition of his travels, occurs as Dogsian, but it is clear that this is a scribal error. Archaeological assessments of the Druze region have also proposed the possibility of Druze descending from Etrurians, who had inhabited Mount Lebanon and Golan Heights in late Classic Antiquity, but their traces fade in the Middle Ages. Genetics. See also, Genetic History of the Middle East. Lebanese Christians and Druze became a genetic isolate in the predominantly Islamic world. In a 2005 study of ASPM gene variants, Mekel-Bobrov et al. Found that the Israeli Druze people of the Mount Carmel region have among the highest rate of the newly evolved ASPM haplogroup D, at 52.2% occurrence of the approximately 6,000-year-old allele. While it is not yet known exactly what selective advantage is provided by this gene variant, the haplogroup D allele is thought to be positively selected in populations and to confer some substantial advantage that has caused its frequency to rapidly increase. A 2004 DNA study has shown that Israeli Druze are remarkable for the high frequency, 35%, of males who carry the Y-chromosomal haplogroup L, which is otherwise uncommon in the Middle East, Shin et al. 2004. This haplogroup originates from prehistoric South Asia and has spread
from where? South Asia. Right? This haplogroup originates from prehistoric South Asia.
This haplogroup originates from prehistoric South Asia and has spread from Pakistan into southern Iran. A 2008 study done on larger samples showed that LM20 averages 27% in Mount Carmel Druze, 2% in Galilee Druze, 8% in Lebanese Druze, and it was not found in a sample of 59 Syrian Druze, Slush et al. 2008. Christiani, in 2007, found E1B1B1A2, ED13, a subclade of E1B1B1A, EM78, in high levels, greater than 10% of the male population, in Cypriot and Druze lineages. Recent genetic clustering analyses of ethnic groups are consistent with the close ancestral relationship between the Druze and Cypriots, and also identified similarity to the general Syrian and Lebanese populations, as well as a variety of Jewish groups, Ashkenazi, Sephardi, Iraqi, and Moroccan, Behar et al. 2010. Also, a new study concluded that the Druze harbor a remarkable diversity of mitochondrial DNA lineages that appear to have separated from each other thousands of years ago. But instead of dispersing throughout the world after their separation, the full range of lineages can still be found within the Druze population. The researchers noted that the Druze villages contained a striking range of high frequency and high diversity of the X haplogroup, suggesting that this population provides a glimpse into the past genetic landscape of the Near East at a time when the X haplogroup was more prevalent. These findings are consistent with the Druze oral tradition that claims that the adherents of the faith came from diverse ancestral lineages stretching back tens of thousands of years. The Shroud of Turin analysis shows significant traces of mitochondrial DNA unique to the Druze community. A 2008 study published on the genetic background of Druze communities in Israel showed highly heterogeneous parental origins. A total of 311 Israeli Druze were sampled, 37 from the Golan Heights, 183 from the Galilee, and 35 from Mount Carmel, as well as 27 Druze immigrants from Syria and 29 from Lebanon, Slush et al. 2008. The researchers found the following frequencies of Y-chromosomal and mtDNA haplogroups. Mount Carmel, L 27%, R 27%, J 18%, E 15%, G 12%. Galilee, J 31%, R 20%.
I don't know if I
E
let me see
18%,
some.
G 14%, K 11%.
I mean, y'all probably won't even care about that. So let me just go over here.
A 2016 study based on testing samples of Druze in the historic region of Syria, in comparison with ancient humans, including Anatolian and Armenian, and on geographic population structure, GPS, tool by converting genetic distances into geographic distances, concluded that Druze might hail from the Zagros Mountains and the surroundings of Lake Van in eastern Anatolia. Then they later migrated south to settle in the mountainous regions in Syria, Lebanon, and Israel. A 2020 study on remains from Canaanite, Bronze Age southern Levantine populations suggests a significant degree of genetic continuity in currently Arabic-speaking Levantine populations, including the Druze, Lebanese, Palestinians, and Syrians, as well as in most Jewish groups, including Sephardi Jews, Ashkenazi Jews, Mizrahi Jews, and Maghribi Jews, from the populations of the Bronze Age Levant, suggesting that the aforementioned groups all derive more than half of their overall ancestry, DNA, from Canaanite/Bronze Age Levantine populations, albeit with varying sources and degrees of admixture from differing host or invading populations depending on each group.
So, they tell you, right? Because, when you talk about the Jews and you say that they are the Canaanites, they'll be like, nah, we was just amongst, no. They were all a part of this Canaanite group. That's why you hear Cain and Abel, and this is why they will go out and believing in the enslavement of the people. So both these groups, right, the Jew and the Druze, right, just me, hypothesizing this. These were like them clans who had conflicts amongst each other. So this is, some, see also sort of battalion, and these are the, Jabal state. These are the list of Druze, and, all of these other things right here. So, these are just what it is. I thought I was going to go over, right? But I will come back to this section when I bring up, basically the slavery within Islam, right? Because remember, we're talking about the battles and imprisoning and, taking the women and children, and that was stated, by Islam about the Druze. So we will be getting into that in the next episode. Right, so this is about to end in about 1 minute, so I just wanted to clarify some things and didn't really want to rush through it. Right, so we will be getting back, like I said, we address the Canaanites, right? And we address, the Jews, most Jewish groups, including. So when it says most, this is including these as well. So as we get deeper into this, we will be shining a light on the darkness around us, right? Hold on, as a matter of fact, let me stop this, all right, so I can just simply go over and press my end the stream, and we can be up out of here, people. Remember, much love and resistance.